Hello, my name is Darian and you are listening to Unia podcast. As you probably know, Unia is present in the international market and is distinguished by high quality accounting and consulting services and advanced IT solutions. However, Unia's main focus is on the countries of Western Balkans, so Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro and North Macedonia. Today we will try to answer the question what kind of business environment are the countries of Western Balkans, what are the advantages of doing business in these countries, and what might attract potential investors. Of course, there are 5 guests with me today from 5 of aforementioned countries, each of whom is an expert in his field. With me today is Milan Aleksovski, accounting and tax consultant from Unia North Macedonia, Dragana Asić-Ratkovac, tax consultant representing Unia Serbia and Unia Montenegro, Džejna Mahović, legal consultant in Unia Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dušan Banović, finance consultant from Datalink Unia Croatia, and Nina Orehe Kručigaj, legal consultant in Unia Slovenia. Without further ado, let's start with question for you, Džejna. As we said before, Unia's main focus is on the countries of the Western Balkans, where it has its offices. Can you tell us from your own experience what are the advantages of doing business in these countries?
Hello, Darian, and thank you first for your kind introduction. I will try to answer your question. In fact, I believe we are the most competent to talk about advantages or challenges, maybe, of doing business in this region, since we have chosen to conduct our business in all 6 countries of Western Balkans. So, if you ask us, we would definitely say that in these countries we have highly qualified workforce that is on average well educated, as education is often associated with good employability of people. Also, a great advantage of conducting business in this region is the proximity of foreign markets, since due to its location, Western Balkan countries attracts many investors who want to build a network of customers both in Southeast Europe and Central Europe. Another advantage of doing business operations in this region, especially in case of transferring the goods and materials, is infrastructure that enables individuals to quickly transfer goods and materials from one point to another. We have small size of the countries, distances are quite short. And last but not least is that there are no restrictions on foreign investors entering this market. Investments are allowed to both foreign legal entities and natural person unless otherwise stipulated by the relevant international agreements. However, despite all these advantages and positive aspects, I must say that we also faced certain challenges. Definitely, the biggest challenge for us was finding a partner who would guide us in all 6 countries and provide support to both us and our clients. And since we were unable to find a partner at that time who could keep up with us and our requirements as well as the needs of our clients, we decided to take matters into our own hands and form a team within Unia that would follow our growth as well as the growth of our clients. So that is why today in Unia we have 3 pillars, accounting and payroll as one, and consulting and IT. Well, although accounting and payroll remain our core businesses, it is hard for us today to imagine maintaining it without the consulting and IT support from the other two pillars. For instance, we have these 6 countries emerged from the former Yugoslavia, and they have their roots in the former Yugoslavian legislations, but also it was difficult to manage it all since there are differences we have from country to country regarding the incorporation process, for example, or maybe types of available legal entities, tax treatment, employment relationships, corporate law in general, and etc. So that is why it is crucial for us to have a qualified team within Unia, within our consulting department, that can provide us and our clients, of course, with the necessary support in terms of tax and legal consulting, financial consulting, maybe assistance with M&A processes, assistance in preparing transfer pricing studies, and etc. Then I believe you want to know why do we have IT pillar. I believe that today in any business, it is hard to imagine managing some kind of business operations without proper IT security and IT support. So that is why actually we have our own IT pillar that provides protection and maintenance of IT systems, programming and software development, and new generation reporting, which is actually my favorite. So if you are tired of Excel sheets and want to have an interesting and still detailed business report, I'm sure you'll be thrilled with the solution offered by our guys and girls from IT department. So coming back to our mission that we discussed in several occasions, we really believe that by providing this comprehensive support, or as we can say, a one-stop shop, we truly help our partners to focus on their business while we take care of their needs.
Thank you, Džejna, for your comprehensive answer. We are talking about making business. If we want to make a business, establishing a company is one of the possible ways. In your experience, how long does it take to establish a company in these 6 countries that we are talking about? So, North Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Croatia, and Slovenia. Nina, as legal consultant in Slovenia, I think you are the right person to answer this question.
Thank you, Darian, for your question. Yeah, well, actually, we have discussed about this issue, about this topic with our colleagues from all other countries, and we have actually found out that in all 6 countries, the company can be established in quite a similar time frame. So approximately about 1 month, I would say, from the date when we have everything, I mean, all the documents, all the certificates, all the proof that we need for the establishment ready. There is one exception to this case. Slovenia is very, I could say, support. The system in Slovenia is quite supported. So the court register has the possibility to establish the company even in a shorter time period, almost a week. However, this really depends on if we already have all the documents that we actually need for the establishment itself. What we would usually need is definitely the information about the shareholders, the name of the new company that we would like to establish, the amount of share capital that we would like to have in this company, and maybe some specifics that we would like to include in the incorporation process. From the point where we have all of this information and the documents, as I said, about 1 month it takes for the company to actually be established. But this is just the beginning. You know, we would definitely need to have some post-registration activities that are also necessary and should not be forgotten. I mean, when we have the company registered, then that's when the actually work begins, because we have to also do the tax registration in every country, also maybe provide VAT registration depending on the activities of a particular company. take care of rental spaces, take care of employment procedures, and some other, let's say, licenses or permits that we need to acquire if we want to do business. So let's say, about 1 month.
Thanks, Nina. As I said before, establishing a new company is only one way to start a business. Dušan, in your opinion, what are the alternatives? Is there any other way to start a business in the aforementioned countries of Western Balkans?
Yes, Darian, thank you for your question. Yes, there is an option. Rather than starting from the sketch, you can basically explore the option of an acquiring existing company or merging with another business. This can provide you with the established customer base, infrastructure, assets, and what is the most important, experienced employees already on the ground in a country where you want to start the business. Of course, suitability of this alternative depends on your various factors, such as the client's business objectives, legal considerations, available resources, market conditions, and expected time frame. Our consultants at Unia can help clients make this informed decision based on their specific circumstances. And of course, we can provide full support so the right decision can be made. Basically, since we cover all the countries where Unia is active, we can provide the clients either the market research or identification of potential targets, and basically go with them through each and every step of the M&A process, starting from the evaluations and negotiations to the due diligence and transaction documentation. So basically, Darian, yes, there is an alternative, and we are here to help all our clients to explore alternatives, but also we need to emphasize that those alternatives are much more time lengthy than Nina mentioned, and they usually take more than 1 month.
Thank you, Dušan. Taxation is always a relevant topic when we are talking about making business. What taxes are companies in the Western Balkans subject to, and what are the tax registration obligations? I think as a tax consultant, Milan may be the right person to address this topic.
Thank you, Darian. Well, after the company is registered, it is automatically liable for income tax and based on the achieved financial result during the period of its activity. Profit taxes vary from country to country, from 10% in North Macedonia and Bosnia, 9% and 15% in Montenegro, 50% in Serbia, 18% in Croatia, and 19% in Slovenia. Also, depending on the country, there are simplified tax regimes for companies that have smaller turnover. Furthermore, if the company has employees, it has the obligation to register them with the employment agency, and then they're liable for personal tax and social contributions, for which it calculates and pays them to the tax administration and appropriate funds on the behalf of the employees. Tax rates and rates for social contribution differ from country to country. Also, if the company have sales in the country, it is obliged to register for value-added tax, and the registration can be done with registration of the company on a voluntary base, or maybe after crossing some threshold. Also, there are property taxes which are applied if company has any immovable assets or buildings, and those taxes are usually administered by local communities where the immovable assets is located. Also, depending of the activity of the company, it can be liable for excise taxes, especially if the business activity of the company is trading or producing alcoholic beverages, mineral oils or fuels. However, these excise taxes are defined by the country and its local legislation. For For last, also their environmental property taxes. And for example, the tax of motor vehicles, which is calculated on the base of the emission of carbon dioxide and other parameters defined by the law.
Thank you, Milan. Well, I have another question regarding taxes, maybe for you, Dragana. What does the determination of profit tax look like? What are the main points here?
As my colleague Milan already mentioned, local subsidiary have to register for the corporate income tax purposes, and each country has its own percentage that applies to tax base. Corporate income tax law in all of the respective countries in region prescribes self-taxation system for taxpayers for determination of the corporate income tax liability. Tax base is defined as accounting profit determined according to the international accounting standards and adjusted for the non-deductible expenses and non-taxable revenues according to the corporate income tax law provisions in each of those countries. Income for tax purposes comprises any operating, financial, non-operating, any extraordinary and revaluation income declared in the financial accounts of the taxpayer. Income adjustments such as, for example, increase based on the transfer pricing rules and policies are also included in this tax base. What is also a rule that is applicable for each country is that all expenses must be properly documented, incurred for business purposes and at arm's length principle in case of transactions with related party, in order to be recognized such as deductible cost for the corporate income tax purposes. And some expenses are deductible up to the prescribed limit. For example, each law prescribes this limit for entertainment costs and donations. Some expenses are fully non-deductible for corporate income tax purposes, and this is in all countries penalties for late payment of tax liabilities. And some expenses, actually recognition of some expenses for tax purposes is defined by a separate rules in corporate income tax law. And this is, for example, depreciation of non-current assets, long-term provisions, impairment of assets, interest on related party loans, and so on. So basically, each country of Western Balkan has its own provisions for determination of profit tax, but in general, all those are based on international standards and OECD guidelines.
Thank you, Dragana. Our time is running out, but I have one more question, which is always relevant when we start business in a new country. How much an employee with an average salary will cost me in each of 6 countries we are talking about? Džejna, if you answered first, it might be right to answer the last question as well.
First, well, I would like to take a few steps back and say that all 6 countries have labor laws that actually stem from the former Yugoslavia labor law, which means that employment relationships are quite similar in all 6 countries. So in general, contracting parties can freely agree on mutual rights and obligations under condition that agreed is within the legal framework. Of course. So regarding the costs of average salary, it is easy to notice that they are slightly higher for EU countries, Slovenia and Croatia. So for example, in Slovenia, we have gross salary in amount of 2,100 euros. In Croatia, we have on the other side 1,000 and almost 400 euros. Also for non-EU countries, we have lower costs regarding the gross salary in Serbia around 950 euros, in Montenegro 970 euros, same for North Macedonia. And in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we actually have different costs depending in which entity employer is headquartered. So for Republika Srpska, we have cost in the amount of almost 1,000 euros, while in Federation of Bosnia and Brčko district, we have a cost of gross salary in the amount of 960 euros. But please note that these are the rough estimations, since we need to have all inputs in order to provide precise costs of the salaries. Although we have presented the salary costs in euro currency in order for you to have a better overview of the cost, keep in mind that in all 6 countries we do not use euro as official currency. So in Croatia, Slovenia and Montenegro we use euro, while other countries still use their local currencies.
Okay, that was my last question for today. I would like to thank all 5 of you for participating in this Unia podcast. I'm sure that by answering the questions, you have provided our listeners with at least an approximate insight into making business in the countries of the Western Balkans. Dear listeners, that was all from our side. We hope and believe that we may have inspired some of you to start making business in this region as well. If you decide so, and if you'll need some support, Unia with its experts is definitely the right address for you. Thank you for being with us. Stay tuned for the upcoming episode of Unia Podcast.
Unia Podcast.